ないけど、マキの愚痴から聞きたいなって思っちゃって。ダメ？
ダメじゃないけど。
じゃあ、周りに聞かれないよ。
ごめん。
大丈夫だけど。前原さん。
Second Prettiest Girl in Class, guys, was episode number 7. And what episode 7 of this show really did was made me appreciate another show. Let me just say this. This episode exuded one of the things I hate most, and I've talked about this now a couple of times. It's when the main character, typically the main male character, oftentimes, so to be clear, there is female main characters that this symptom, they catch it too, they get this bug. But typically it's the male characters, and it's when they need to do or accomplish or something needs to happen before they can confess the feelings that they already know, they just can't verbalize it. In this case, right, what ended up happening with this one is Maki and Umei are sharing a very beautiful moment. They're sharing a really cool moment during Christmas, right? So it's Christmas, they got Christmas lights, they're sitting next to a tree, they have the most romantic setting, they've been holding hands, they had a great date, all these things have happened, right? It's the perfect setting for Maki just to grow a pair and just say, hey, I love you, because that's the true feelings, right? No matter what's happening outside with his parents and the boo-hooiness, whatever else, he's like 16, you know, I get it, he's still a kid, but it's kind of like, you know, he's in that weird stage where I judge him, but at the same time I don't. Regardless, he can't verbalize the feelings because he saw his dad, okay? He saw his dad with another woman, okay? And at this point, it's been a year post-divorce. I don't know if you expect your dad to be a monk, right? And just because he sees his mother struggling with their divorce doesn't mean that dad does, okay? And again, I understand he's 16 or whatever. I understand that, you know, that thought process may come later in life, right? That understanding may come later in life. As a kid, all you're thinking about is dad or mom or both. They broke up our family and our dynamic is just simply not the same. So I blame both of them. In this case, I blame mostly dad because he lives with mother, right? So anyways, he sees dad and he can't confess to Umei, right? And she's not even really asking for a confession. She's not saying, hey, get down on one knee. She's just saying, just tell me how you feel. So I think that after he saw his dad, he should have still said, hey, you know, thanks for hugging me, whatever, you know, acknowledge what happened. And then say, by the way, you know, I know it's poor taste now, or, you know, I want to give you an answer. And maybe in that moment, Umei then says, you know, I get it. Right now is not the right time. And then maybe that gets pushed off. But him just letting it go, irritating writing. So what this show did, though, is it made me really appreciate a different show. And I try to avoid talking about other shows during my reviews of certain ones, but some make it impossible. So this season, though, there's another romance anime. And if for some reason you chose this one, this is your only romance, I definitely suggest watching Gals Can't Be Kind to Otaku. It's short for Otagal. That is the best romance anime of the season. And the cool thing about that show is you can turn your brain off and watch it and get a really cool romance experience, right? You can get a really cool, like, it's still leading up to the romance, but you can get a really cool romantic comedy experience. Or you can overthink it. And if you overthink it, which is sometimes often what I do with shows, you're going to get met with something very unique to where if you begin peeling back layers, this show, like this one, Prettiest Girl, doesn't fall apart. Instead, it actually becomes, you like it even more because you realize the dynamic between the three main characters of that show. And what they do to the main male protagonist, which each of the girls bring to it, are so unique. And how the main male character is growing into eventually being able to confess. The way that they get there is, it's a masterclass. Like, I don't want to overglaze it because it's not like the best ever, but it really is super, super solid. And it makes it seem, though, like a masterpiece when I compare it to this show where I'm just like, okay, I just don't like a lot of what it's doing. And I really, really hate that, like, oh, I saw my dad. You know, I can't confess my feelings to the girl I love now, you know? Or this guy's like, what are these feelings inside of me? Come on. Okay, come on. Like, I get it. We're a kid, but like, Were we that dumb? I don't know. So we have that stuff that happened this episode, okay? Then he couldn't even compliment his girl, right? She comes in, she's wearing a mini skirt for him. She's looking all dolled up to the nines. Eventually, through her kind of, grabbing it out of him, he's able to say, "You look beautiful." But that should have been like his first thought. Okay, so I don't think that he's that dumb to not know that. Again, just this little writing quirks just piss me off constantly. Then, on top of everything else, right? He has self-brooding, okay? And this is where I want to stop. If you guys ever have kids, okay? If maybe you have kids right now, do me a favor and change this today, or, take a mental note from when you have kids in the future. Make sure that you are their biggest champion, okay? Make sure that you are their biggest champion. He has such at least the show depicts him as having such self-sabotaging personality. He's a good-looking kid. He doesn't look funny with Umei, right? He doesn't look funny. They match very well. She's the second prettiest girl or whatever, but he's not ugly. He dresses well. He looks pretty sharp in his school outfit. He has like a certain style to him, the way that he wears his school outfit. So he's got style. So he's not ugly. He doesn't have a bad haircut. He doesn't have a pimple face, right? Like the traditional things that make them will make you ugly as a man. He doesn't exude or have them. So on a scale of normal, he's probably a little bit better than the average looking male, which is a lot more than most men. So he's a good looking kid. So the fact that he doesn't think that of himself, I go back to his parents' fault. Now, yes, they're divorced, but regardless, just a reminder, always be your kid's best champion. If they don't look good, you can't just straight up tell them, but you need to make sure that you're dropping hints of like, what if you wear this instead? Or what if you wear that? If their hair doesn't look good, do it for them, right? Like, offer to do it for them, or like, hey, let's change this. Or like, wow, you look really cute like this, right? I'm my biggest daughter's hype man. I'm my biggest son's hype man. I do his hair. I'm like, damn, you're looking sharp. Like, you're looking handsome. I'll put up his shirt the right way. I'll make sure his shoes are clean. Like, damn, son, looking good. I was like, yo, don't, like when the girls come to attack you, like, you be careful out there, like those things really do build up your kid's self-esteem, right? When my daughter dresses really pretty, I'm like, oh my God, like I think you need to stay home. Like, I can't have the boys see you like this at school. Little statements like that will really go a long way. Of course, don't overinflate it, right? Like, don't be too crazy about it, but you need to be your kid's biggest champion, and you need to have like a semblance of honesty in there too. But again, kids are very sensitive, so you gotta watch kind of how you approach it, and you're not always gonna be perfect at it, but you do need to be that. And that proves it here when you have Maki as a good-looking cat who is just self-sabotaging, where like you hear it a lot of times too, like especially like a lot of girls like to do this, to where like, oh my God, like my friend's a bomb show and she's stuck with this bum, and then you see the two people walk in and you're like, they match perfectly. Like, I don't even know what you're talking about. He's just as good looking as your friend. So where I'm going with that here is that self-sabotaging writing is kind of realistic, but then kind of not, okay? The other thing that I want to talk about, and I'm spending a lot of time on this today, is the show is very focused on the divorce, right? Going back to what I said a little bit earlier, I guess Maki was expecting his dad just to be miserable, right? His dad moved on, he found someone else. Like, it can happen. The one thing I didn't like about this show is they say that during the divorce proceedings, and there's no such thing as this, by the way, his dad's only allowed one visit a month. Okay? And to remind you, he's 16. He's not a 5-year-old child. He's not a 5-year-old kid to where he needs to call mommy. He needs to call the mom to get to the kid, right? The kid has his own cell phone. The dad can call him anytime. You know what I mean? Like, his dad is also being a real piece of, like, he's being a piece of shit, frankly. Because, like, his dad can call him anytime. He can text him anytime. But he's waiting till that one time a month to see his own child. That makes no sense. Again, take note as a parent, even if you go through a divorce, even if your partner spouse ends up being not the person that you thought they were going to be and you have to divorce, you're not divorcing from your kids, which again is what this piece of shit's doing. Now, he might have his own inner monologue of reasons, but the reality is, to the kids, it's going to seem that way. And to me, it seems that way too. I would never do that to my kids. I could never imagine seeing my children one time a month. No, I'm going to be on FaceTime with them. I'm going to be calling them, texting, especially if they're 16 years old. They're only a couple years away from a full-on adult, right? Like, you could text them whatever. And I also don't believe that the court's only gonna allow, so he has to pay alimony because Maki said that his dad is paying for their life. So he's paying alimony and probably child support, and he's gonna pay all that and only be allowed one visitation a day. There is no court even I understand it's Japan, not the US. There is no court in the world that's going to say, okay, you have to pay alimony, you have to pay child support, and we're only gonna let you see your almost fully adult child one time a month. No, that's just not gonna happen. So I don't believe that. So that writing pisses me off too. That probably comes from somebody who maybe went through a divorce. Maybe the author went through a divorce when they were a kid, or they have no effing idea how divorces actually work. So that pisses me off too. All right, I'm way long in the tooth here. What I'll say is the constant deflection of romance being stunted or stalled because of another thing happening is just a very irritating writing pattern for a lot of these romances. And a lot of authors get stuck in these ways that like, oh, he or she was about to propose, about to confess, about to ask them out, but then they failed the test. They didn't get into college. They didn't make it to their high school. They saw their dad being divorced, right? They didn't have this. They didn't make it on the basketball team. Something stunts love, and that makes no sense to me at all. It's just not realistic at all. And it pisses me off. So anyways, this episode I think was a I think it was a 6 out of 10. Like, I just don't think it's good enough to give it a 7. What's crazy is on my anime list, this one has a 7.89, which means like it's like one of the best anime of the season, which is just not the case. So my anime list is just wild with ratings. It inflates. The rating inflation on my anime list is crazy. And also the rating list, like rating, the way people rate on TikTok as well is crazy. Some people are slanging out 9.5s on shows that do not deserve 9.5, which means it's one of the best anime ever created. It's crazy out there. People, understand your ratings, please. 6 out of 10. This was just a fine episode. All right, I'll see you guys next week. Thank you for being here for so long. This is my longest video of the week because it pissed me off. Peace. One love.